Hello and welcome to Huddersfield Town Extra Time in association with Sportsbroker. I'm pleased to be joined by ex-Terrier Lee Makel and Stuart Rayner of the Yorkshire Post. Stuart, we were just talking before we started recording and you were saying you were writing a very different match report up until those last few moments. The game turned on that penalty decision, that controversial penalty decision. Do you want to talk us through how you saw it?
Yeah, I thought it was a difficult one, really. I kind of had a little bit of sympathy with the referee because I just think although Sorba Thomas made very little contact with Alex Mowatt's head, which was ducking down anyway, I just think when you lift your boot that high in the penalty area, you are running that risk. And it really could have gone either way, that decision. It was unfortunate for Town that it did, and it was even more unfortunate that it was such an important decision because, you know, had obviously Andy Carroll not followed it up with that second goal, we wouldn't really have been talking about that. It would just have been a fly in the ointment of a good win from Huddersfield, and that's the frustration, really. You know, Carlos Corberán was talking afterwards about how conceding that second goal, those two goals quick together, could have been avoided, and it wasn't. You couldn't put it all down to the referee. It was partly of Town's own making as well, which was a shame after such a good performance up to that point.
Yeah, we'll come on to the good performance in a moment because it was for 80, 82 minutes absolutely excellent. Lee, if you want to be slightly less diplomatic than Stuart, the Stuart mentioned slight contact. I can't see any for me from where I was sat. How did you see the penalty?
Well, I think the referee's positioning as well. I think he's seen a completely different view of it. I think his positioning was behind Mowat, so it kind of looked as though that Thomas had kicked him in the head. But when the replays were showing, it's quite clear he did touch the ball a little bit, Thomas, but nowhere near Mowat, and Mowat's just gone down and faked the injury. But like I say, I think the reason the referee gave the penalty is because the position he was in.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Like Stuart said, that swung the momentum in West Brom's favour, and the long ball into the box found Andy Carroll, who did what he's on the pitch to do, and it shouldn't have really come to that, Lee. We were in control for 80 minutes, and it was, you know, an absolutely to the script, perfect away performance up until that 80th minute, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The way that they set up, again, give massive credit to the manager, the way he set them up. 4-4-2. He switched to 4-4-2 for the last 20 minutes last week. So maybe he had that in mind that he was going to do it tonight. And I just thought the whole team was disciplined. They had composure in the team. They played the way out of tight positions. And when they did break, they broke in numbers and broke at real speed and caused West Brom a lot of problems. Like I said, the whole team was disciplined and composed, but I actually thought that the two centre halves were immense until the last 10 minutes, and then you know, they bring Andy Carroll on and the manager changes and goes 5 at the back, just to have that little bit more, you know, influence at the back there, to try and win the second ball, because you always know that Carroll's going to win the first one. And it kind of backfired on us at that time, because obviously 9 minutes to go, he makes them changes to try and see the game out, which is the right thing to do. And then he has to go and change it again after they score the first and the second goal. So, I mean, it's disappointing. But then again, you go into places like West Brom and you're getting the point, and you're keeping that unbeaten run going, and you're keeping the confidence really high in the dressing room, which is what you really want.
Yeah, it's an emotional one, Stuart, right now, you know, 5-10 minutes after the full-time whistle's been blown, because, you know, before the game, had you given somebody a draw at the Hawthorns, I think most people would have taken it. I think, you know, when you're 2-0 up and the way the games went, it feels strangely like a defeat now when it really shouldn't. It's a great point, but just the flow of the game's kind of deflated the way it is. But you know, the lads on the way out of the stadium are obviously feeling a little bit hard done by, and that's motivation, isn't it, for the next couple of games to put that right and get the next couple of results on the back of this one.
it's motivation and it's encouragement. I mean, if you think at this, before the season started, a month into the season, if you said, you go to the Hawthorns and you'd be disappointed at only getting a 2-2 draw, I think that shows how far this team has come, to be honest with you. As you say, it's just a sequence of the goals. If they've been scored in a different order, you'd be delighted tonight. But it's one of those. It's the classic draw that feels like a defeat. But yeah, I'd agree with all that Lee said. There's a real discipline about this team. They can do the nice stuff. They can do the nasty stuff as well. They find a way to score goals. And it's just frustrating that having done all those things, all those really professional things for 80 minutes, 85 minutes, it was just a little bit of switching off. And obviously, let's not forget dealing with a former England striker coming off the bench. That's not easy either, particularly when you get the ball in the air to Andy Carroll. That was the fine margins of this game. And it's frustrating, but I say when you look at it in the cold light of day, you'd be pleased to have this frustration.
Yeah, Lee, the performance was excellent. Like we've been saying, that some of the football that Town were playing, it wasn't just in control, but they were playing it between themselves really nicely. They were creating some gorgeous chances on the break, and it went exactly to script. One player that obviously stands out for a goal in each half is Danny Ward. The first one was off the back of his hard work closing down Johnston, who's not a bad keeper. He's England squad himself. And the second one, again, predatory, following up on a Lewis O'Brien shot. That's the sort of centre forward performance that top end championship teams need, isn't it?
Yeah, and also his all round play is excellent. Holding it in, bringing other players into the game, holding it in, turning and playing Thomas in that he done towards the end of the game. But I thought the whole team was disciplined and had a composure about them, and they looked a real fluid unit, whether they were with the ball or whether they without the ball. But the first goal, the way that they closed down, was probably being worked on the training field, especially with the two up top. And then you had Sonari coming in on the right. And basically the way that West Brom played, they did have four in that area, 4 players, and we had 3 of our players, and we could nullify that and put the keeper under pressure. And that's what, they must have been working on. Been to some of the matches and seeing them live, you can see that they work a lot on pressing and setting traps and triggers to pounce when there's a bad pass or was a bad touch. And that was one scenario that came off. But I thought the whole team up until until West Brom scored the penalty were excellent.
Yeah, somebody that Lee just touched on there in passing, Stuart, was Sorba Thomas, who I thought playing a slightly different role today, a bit higher up off the shoulder of Danny Ward, was excellent. A constant outlet. He was running in behind really well. He was a real headache for West Brom all night. And it's a shame that he was the one to give that penalty away, because it was a performance that didn't really deserve that to cloud it. But, the way that Town controlled the game, if you were to write down the market worth of West Brom's 11 and ours and put it on a black piece of paper and ask you to pick which one cost what, it wouldn't be the way around that it actually is, would it?
Absolutely. And that's what I mean about, when you look at it in those sort of terms, to be disappointed at getting a draw here really, really says something. I mean, for me, the moment that summed it up was the second goal, because the finish itself, it was just a poacher's finish. It wasn't one that's going to get on goal of the season, but the build-up play from Russell through Ward through O'Brien was beautiful. They played some. Town are in this phase now where they can play some really nice stuff, but they can do the ugly part of the game as well. And I just think that summed it up nicely. When you've got a centre forward who can score those kind of goals, 13 of them now this season, that's absolutely priceless.
Stuart, how do you react to a game like this? Because obviously, like we referenced before, it's emotional right now, but is it a game where the further away you get from it, the better it seems, or is it one that as far it's going to remain annoying regardless of how far away you get from it?
Well, I've kind of looked at it in terms of just what I was saying then, that it felt like a defeat, but when the final whistle blew, Town was second in the Premier League. And sorry, the Championship. Sorry, getting a bit ahead of myself there. Town second.
We'll work for next year, Stu.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you look at some of the teams who are trailing in their wake at the moment, I think that is just a tremendous achievement by this squad, by the recruitment department to put this squad together. And I just long may it continue. Really, they continue to be written off, this team. They continue to prove people wrong, and now it looks like 2 points drop, but who knows what Saturday will bring with lots of teams playing each other. Who knows if Bournemouth are going to get 3 points, for example. We're assuming they are, but we just don't know. And Town are just putting the points on the board and putting the pressure on the other teams.
Exactly.
That's really important, because although they you see is 2 points dropped, it might be 1 point gained for the games tomorrow, but also it's another game chalked off the board that we've got points on the board. So it might be a valuable point in the end. So fingers crossed it is.
Yeah, Lee, people were asking the question quite rightly, how the Town reacts after going out of the Cup on Monday night to Forest. It'd been so long since we'd lost a game or really been disappointed after one. And I think the boys more than proved that they'd reacted in the right way for the majority of this game. And I don't think the ending of it really takes away from that. In an almost perverse sort of way, is the way that this game ended, that extra bit of a chip on the shoulder. Is that maybe a nice thing for them to have for the remaining 9 games of the season, to kind of go, okay, let's prove this wrong. We feel slighted here. Let's carry that into the next few games. And, despite any refereeing decision or what any pundit may think we're capable of, let's prove everyone wrong.
Yeah, I think all the best teams have that, it's us against the world mentality to get anywhere where they want to be. And also, obviously, watching it on TV tonight, when Huddersfield went 2-0 up, they were saying it was game over. Now, I'm not saying some of the players would have thought, the way that we're playing, it might be game over, but you never know. So that might just give them that little bit of impetus to go and, finish the game strongly, because they started the game really strong, the last couple of games in particular, and they need to finish the games how they start them.
Yeah, Stuart, as the way it is in the Championship, there's no rest for the wicked. It's Millwall away on Wednesday, and they're absolutely flying at the moment. Is that the perfect sort of game? Another game where Town can't let the levels drop, can't let their edge drop, and straight back onto the training field, straight back into recovery, and head screwed on for that one, and straight back to it.
Well, I mean, you say it's the Millwall game, that it is, but every game from now until the end of the season is going to be like that. It's just get your foot down, get points on the board, and then see what the rest are going to do about it. That's kind of the situation Town are in, having played more games than some of them. It's just, I think it was good for them to play first this weekend. Put a point on the board and then just say to the rest, right, what are you going to do about it? And as Lee says, it's a good reminder just to stay disciplined, stay tight when you concede that first goal. Ideally, you have those reminders when John Russell puts away that shot late on and you win 3-2. But we're not living in an ideal world. It's still a good way to refocus the minds, and I'm sure they'll be back at it on Wednesday, because that's what this team's done all season.
Yeah, it's a great point, Stuart. It's not as if their edge drops even after that equaliser, and they, on another night they may well have nicked a third, and it's not like they've not done that in other games this season late on either. So I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much both for your time. Town go again on Wednesday night away at Millwall at the Den. We'll speak again before then, but thank you very much for your time, Stuart. Thanks, Lee, for your time again, and thanks as ever to Sportsbroker for sponsoring the show.